Hey everybody, welcome back to the Fabulous Lazy. Drew Stew here. It is a sponsor highlight here at the Equinity Sports Desk, and I am with my old pal, Dr. Harry Anderson with Total Feeds. Hello, Doc.
Hey, it's great to be here again. Get to see you about 2 or 3 times a year only.
I know it. Gosh dang it. Well, man, we were just sitting here before we kicked off the stream here, and well, you guys are growing. You guys got some exciting things kind of coming down the pike.
Yeah, we're starting out with some exciting things for the year 2025. For 6 years, we've been trying to get across the border to Canada and ship in there. Finally, last month, we shipped our first load up there.
Now, is Trump tariffing all your Total Feeds?
No, we got outside of the tariff.
Perfect.
So I think we're going to be safe so far.
So far,
yeah.
Well, good. Well, I know you've been working on that for a long time.
Oh,
Congratulations.
Yes, we finally got it. So we're pretty excited about that.
Good deal. Who are we dealing with? Who are our dealers up in Canada?
Wilson Supply is actually an individual in High River, Alberta.
Okay.
And he's the gentleman. He and his wife, and a partner that does the technical side, but they're doing the selling, and they're going to be setting up dealers all over this country of Canada.
Well, very good. Well, good for you guys. Hey, I there's something really, really important that we need to address, and I wish he was here to defend himself a little bit. Corey cut all his hair off.
You know, people have noticed that. I can't. Everywhere we go, all of a sudden, they kind of are aghast at him. You know, say, "What? When did you do that?"
I did yesterday when we were over there talking yesterday. I was like, "What did you do?"
Yeah.
He said, "Yeah, my wife." He said, "My wife told me it was time."
Yeah, you know the story then about she wanted him to grow that long, and he said,
so that was her idea in the first place.
Yeah, and he said, "Well, how long should I grow it?" She said, "Well, till it's time, and I'll let you know." And here about a month or so ago, all of a sudden, one evening, she said, "Time.
It's time. I'll be dang."
The power of the female.
Yes, ma'am. Hey, I know exactly. Whatever Sarah says, my wife, is that what goes to. So,
so he's catching a lot of flack over that.
Yeah, that's funny. That's awesome. So talk to me about Total Feeds. We've talked about it 1,000 times. You know, you've got a great product. It's for those people that may are watching us for the first time, Doc, give them the high level about your products.
Well, one of the things that we're finding catches people's attention and piques their interest is that if we use opening line, if they ask questions, we say, "You can't colic a horse with it." Suddenly, you have everybody's attention because that's a chronic problem that's killed a lot of good horses.
Yeah, and anybody that's ever had a call, it's horrible to go through, especially if you lose your horse.
Yeah.
But that whole process of going to the vet, if they have to put them on the table, there's nothing fun about that.
That's right. No, we in all the years that we have been selling Total Equine, I have yet to have a call that they have confirmed there was a colic problem or death because of Total Equine.
Good for you.
And that just makes me feel warm and fuzzy.
Yeah. Well, talk to me about your background personally. I mean, it's not like you just came up and said, "Hey, I'm going to start a feed company." Your background as a vet and everything. Talk about all of that.
Yeah. Well, I'm a nutritionist, but I worked in the extension service right out of college.
Okay.
Then I went into the feedlot business, and I was a feedlot nutritionist for 30 years.
30? I didn't know that.
Oh, yes. This is my 55th year out of college.
Oh, perfect.
But things were going along fine, and I was doing nutrition work from northern Montana to South Texas, and running 20 hours a day sometimes. Yep. And one day a gentleman, and by the way, I've never planned anything that I'm going to do next.
Yeah.
I was teaching a class at Clarendon here a while ago, and I said, "Hey, you don't have to plan on where you're going."
Yeah.
I said, I've never planned a day in my life.
Yeah.
And anyway, I was going along okay, and one day a veterinarian actually asked me if I would formulate one formula that would feed every horse there is, whether it's a baby or old, or if it's working hard or not working. And I said, wow, that's a pretty tall order, because today the big feed companies have anywhere from 25 to 30 formulas
Sure.
for a horse.
From this to senior
Yeah.
to whatever.
And I decided, how does anybody decide what to use?
Yeah.
So I sat down one day in the year 2000 and I said, okay, I've got a lot of experience. I've been at this for 35 years. I should know what it takes to feed the cell of an animal and keep them healthy and growing, et cetera, et cetera. So I put together a base package
Okay.
of trace minerals and vitamins and things. And then I said, okay, how do I get this to the right place in a horse? So I put some grain and stuff with it, you know, and went and had some made and started taking it around in my trailer while I was still consulting and getting people to try it. And they said, wow, this is really something. They told me about what has changed in their horses and so on. And so I just started pursuing that a little bit on the side. And all of a sudden, one day I couldn't afford to consult anymore.
Really? It was holding you back from the feed business.
Yeah, I wanted to pursue this because horse paper are a lot more fun to work with than feedlot managers.
The cattle, the old feedlot managers, that's
These
funny.
these people here, these horse people, they don't think about profit and loss on their animal.
They think about keeping them healthy. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, we're not looking at, well, what's the gain on this and what's
That's
it
right.
costing per pound? And there's none of that.
That's right.
There's none. It's just the opposite almost. Like, what could it cost us?
That's right.
You know?
Oh, yeah. But one of the things that I carried over from my experience as a feedlot consultant is in that business, there's one number that's extremely important above all else, and that's feed efficiency.
Yeah.
How much gain do I get for how much
Yep.
feed?
Yep.
That has stuck with me. I can't get rid of that thinking. So when I got all this done, and people started telling me that they would start total equine on the horses, and they'd reduce their hay intake by 10, 20, 25%, or even bigger sometimes.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, maybe I've got something here that goes along with my thinking. So I had some research done for me, and sure enough, when you start feeding total equine, they documented, and this was a short-term study, and it could have been better response, but they didn't realize that how long it takes to change your digestive system. But they documented 11% decrease in hay intake
Really?
against a very popular feed product.
Sure.
So I thought, golly, I've got something going here that we could save a lot of feed. But then I went one step further, and I was thinking about that this morning driving out here. And this is kind of off the wall stuff, but I've gone through these numbers many times.
Sure.
If you're feeding 4 pounds of total equine, and they're going to eat about 20 pounds of hay, okay?
Okay.
What would happen per 1,000 head of horses, and you can figure out how many thousands there are, for 1,000 head, if you, instead of feeding 4 pounds and 20 pounds of hay, you fed 8 pounds of total equine and no hay. Because that's what people are doing. They just eat 4 more pounds total equine, they don't feed hay.
Really?
Right. Now, take that 1,000 head of horses, and if you said for 1 year and took that hay away, that would save 3,450 ton of hay. That's a lot of hay per 1,000 pounds.
That's a lot of hay. Yeah.
And you would only have to feed about, I think I came up with about 36,000 bags of more total equine.
Yeah.
You know, if you're going to dream, you might as well dream big, right?
Dream big, right?
Yeah. Why fiddle around?
Oh, I love it. So talk to me about the mammal condition that makes, on the cellular level, that makes it more efficient, because that's what you're doing basically, right? It's not just the feed. Yes, we can feed just total feed, but let's say I am still feeding an alfalfa or a coastal or whatever like we have down here, but it's way more efficient, and they're getting more out of it. Isn't that what's kind of going on? Like explain that to me on the cellular level. Okay,
that's a very good question, that what we don't address very often, because it gets kind of technical. But
yeah, we got time though. We got 470 kids. We can talk technical.
Well, there's two ways that it's more efficient. One is inside the digestive tract.
Okay.
That we like in a ruminant animal, my ruminant program, they will drop their hay intake by 30-40%.
Okay.
When
Which
you
is
put-
saying that their body's not as hungry. Is that correct?
Right.
I mean, is that a
Well-
way to say that?
Well, to start with, though, the first phase is in the digestive tract before it gets in the body.
Okay.
The digestion process is more efficient with my formula.
Okay.
But in the hindgut of a horse
Okay.
or the rumen of a cow,
Okay.
they're basically the same.
Okay.
The fiber digestion is way more efficient. So
Okay.
now we've created a lot more nutrients with the same amount of feed.
Okay.
Then when those nutrients get into the body, then we move over to the efficiency of how that animal works with the energy they get
Okay.
to make that efficient, or more or less efficient.
Sure.
And we can do that by the trace mineral program.
Okay.
The bulk of what I have going is based on my trace mineral program.
Sure.
Like there's one trace mineral that makes the energy use at the cell level more efficient. And that's magnesium.
Sure.
Magnesium is the valued, if you will.
Even in humans too, isn't it?
Exactly.
A huge one. I hear about it all the time.
Right. And not just magnesium. It has to be a certain kind of magnesium. The old standard is magnesium oxide. That's in every horse formula there is, every animal formula. I use a chelated magnesium,
Okay.
which is way, way more efficient at not only getting into the bloodstream, but when it gets to the cell level, it is more efficient at getting the energy into the cell.
Okay.
And once you satisfy the energy of the body, the mind says, I'm okay.
I'm full.
I'm full. And here's where it gets kind of sticky, and that is how the meeting the energy requirement and the whole nutrient requirement of an animal, all of a sudden they drop weight. They drop body fat. Most animals overconsume whatever they have available
Yeah.
to get micronutrients.
Yeah.
And if I can satisfy their zinc requirement, copper requirement, manganese, all that, all of a sudden the brain says, hey, we're in pretty good shape here.
Sure.
Don't eat anymore, and we don't eat that excess energy. And that goes for humans too.
Sure.
I learned that years and years ago, is that if I don't get hungry,
Yeah.
and it's because I don't have any deficiencies or insufficiencies of trace minerals. And one of the things that people say, well, I'm not deficient, or that those animals aren't deficient. How about an insufficient amount, not a deficiency?
Deficiency, insufficient. Yeah.
Insufficient amount of copper or zinc or anything, everything slows down. It doesn't go away. It just slows down a little. So there are different levels of inadequate nutrition. And so I like that. But one of the little things that I did with my horse feed is the extrusion process.
Yeah.
We've talked about this before, how we put a lot of very, very expensive nutrients in our horse feeds. Everybody does.
Sure.
Every company.
Yeah.
If those trace minerals aren't released within the first 6 or 8 feet of the small intestine, and that pellet hasn't dissolved, or it's a whole grain and it hasn't dissolved yet, they're gone.
Yeah.
They're fertilizer, and they're very expensive fertilizer.
Very expensive fertilizer.
And so that's why I love to show the demonstration that if I can take a glass of water and drop about 8 or 10 kibbles in there, they go right to the bottom, and within 2 minutes, they're dissolved.
Yeah.
So I know they're making all that stuff available.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is the chelated trace minerals I use are so tiny with the chelation process, the smallest amino acid in the world. is the one that carries them. They can be absorbed in the stomach.
Really?
Somewhat. They can be absorbed in the first 6 or 8 feet of the intestine, or they can be absorbed anywhere down the intestinal tract. So that's why we get almost 100% availability of the trace minerals. And they're so critical. You know, there isn't a process in our body that doesn't require a trace mineral or more than one to start the chemical process.
Sure.
And that's what people don't understand, the importance of that. Like our skin integrity. If you're deficient in zinc, you're going to have crusty skin.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and if you have animals deficient in manganese, here's one that's been overlooked for a long time that I've helped people correct leg deformities in their babies.
Really?
Deformed bones or inadequately formed bones on fetuses when they're born. Most of it's due to a manganese deficiency. In fact, I have a great story when I first... See, I keep learning.
Yeah.
I learned this from Joni Voloshin up in Craig, Colorado with her paint horses. They're raised, their mares run in the wintertime, they run up about 12,000 feet.
Okay.
And they'll run on winter grass most of the winter unless it's totally snow-covered.
Yeah.
And she always had a few crooked legs, just a few.
Yeah.
But that's a worthless foal.
Yeah.
Nothing. You can't do anything with it except a lawn ornament.
Yeah.
And so she came to me and wondered about, if our program would help. So I got her started on just my mineral, my grass mineral. She's been using it for about 4 years now, and I think she's had one crooked leg in those 4 years. And before, she was feeding minerals like crazy, trying everything. So I know, and it's simply because I have the chelated manganese in my program. That's just one example of it. Selenium is the other one. These babies that are born that don't move well, their muscles aren't working quite right. And in horses and lambs, it's even worse. The white muscle disease in lambs where they're born and they can't move a leg. They're gone. It's simply inadequate form of selenium and inadequate level of both. I work with some sheep people, and they have no problem like that anymore.
That's awesome. That's awesome that you've seen it. You've seen those situations stop or by considerable percentage slow down.
Right.
I mean, you can tell. That's very, very cool. And speaking of the sheep, so your formulas right now, total equine was always, but you're total bull, total sheep, total goat, right?
Total goat, total bull, total canine, and I have a sheep mineral.
Gotcha.
I did have a sheep product.
Yeah.
But I had to get rid of it because it was causing problems with some certain kinds of sheep.
Gotcha.
You know what it's like to have a 4-H kid sheep die from your feet?
Oh boy. No, I can understand. Oh boy.
But I just thinking of one thing. Going back to the digestion efficiency.
Yep.
Fiber digestion is so critical for horses and goats and sheep and everything. That they live on fiber. So if we can enhance that nutrient intake, like just the energy level, everything is based on sugar. Did you know that? Everything. This is made out of sugar.
Yeah.
And I teach that, and when I teach these college kids, I said, "Do you realize that desk is made out of sugar?" What?
Yeah.
So I go through the scenario about how sugar forms the structure of plants, including trees and so on. So we have to figure out how to break that apart.
Yeah.
On wood, it takes years with bacteria to do that.
But you're doing the same thing.
Exactly the same thing. Yeah. If you see that tree limb that falls down and gets in the dirt, and pretty soon it looks like it's disappearing.
Yeah.
Bacterial growth, just like in the rumen or the cecum of a horse. So But there's more to it than that. There's more benefit, and that is that when protein is a very, very important nutrient. All hay, all grass, everything has protein in it.
Mm-hmm.
But like take a very difficult hay to digest.
Mm-hmm.
If you have, say it has 8% protein, a lower quality, you're not going to get 8% of that until it digests the fiber.
Yeah.
Because the protein is embedded in the fiber.
Gotcha.
So you can actually, by providing the right trace mineral package and things for the bacteria to grow faster, you will release a higher percentage of that protein and get by on a lower protein content feed. That hit me here a while back. We were doing more than just supplying protein when we put these liquid feeders out there or the cook tubs. Yes, they add protein.
Mm-hmm. But they unlock the protein in the hay you're already feeding.
That's the more important part of their function.
That's the more important, yeah. They're unlocking what you're doing. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, this has been a heck of a journey for you, hasn't it, Doc? I mean,
I'm still learning.
Oh, I love that about you. Every time we talk, there's something new. I love it. Yeah. Absolutely love it, Man, that's so much fun. And Doc, for those people out there that haven't tried Total Feed, they just got to give it a shot. Isn't that the bottom? Just try it. And you have been around with us where if it didn't work, we'd know.
Oh, absolutely.
People would tell us.
I know.
And everybody we talk to, it's just the opposite. Yeah. It's just the opposite. It works. Everybody knows it. Yeah. And it's, like you say, it's just in conjunction with. If you're feeding hay, it's just going to help, And everybody, I mean, we're sitting here at the Equinity Sports Size. That's what I love about, like, you and John Dowdy with his program. You're not saying stop everything else. No. You're just saying let us help you.
Right.
Let us help you a little bit. Let us help your horse a little bit.
That's right.
And
now I have kind of a new product that we're trying to introduce to, and that's a very natural sulfur-containing product called Equine 15. And
what does sulfur do for us?
Sulfur has many functions in the body.
Okay.
Hair, fingernails, hooves. It's all very dependent on sulfur.
Okay.
Working with amino acids and stuff.
Okay.
But it's also the immune system.
Okay.
And it's also the joint capsule system requires sulfur.
Okay.
For that lubrication.
Yeah, like for your hyaluronic acid, stuff like that.
You don't form hyaluronic acid without sulfur. Pretty simple.
Pretty simple.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
So we're having fun trying to educate the public about how important that is. And this product is a totally natural 2-component product. It's so simple, it's scary. Perfect. It contains sulfur and lignin sulfonate. And so that's coming down the road, and we're going to learn more and more about that. And it has far-reaching effects, too, like for the immune system. Tremendously popular. And this product also is antiviral.
Really?
Think about that just a second.
Yeah.
And anti-inflammatory.
Wow.
Antiviral is where they have proven in laboratory settings that it stops the growth rate. It doesn't kill anything. It stops the growth rate of things like herpes virus, swine flu virus, some plant viruses, and so on. And even more than that I can't even tell you about.
Yeah.
So this has a futuristic opportunity.
That's great.
And the inflammatory part is, I have people, farriers, talk to me about this. Is I love to hear this from them because they're skeptical.
Absolutely.
They get one of these old horses that they can't pick their foot up and get it on the stool.
Yeah.
And it's just an aging process.
Yeah.
They go on the Equine 15, and all of a sudden, they're flexible as a young horse again.
Yeah.
And so I love to hear that.
Absolutely. Well, that's great. Hey, I was just sitting here thinking, and this is a question that I really don't know the answer to at all, so I'm just going to ask. Right now, Doc, in this team roping world, our steers are so expensive, and we've got to get more out of our steers than ever before. Does Total Feeds have something that can help us keep these steers going better?
Absolutely.
I mean, because they're $1,300 a crack right now.
When I first started making Total Equine, a lot of ropers were using some ropers that you would know that I was working with. They started feeding a little Total Equine to their steers.
Yeah.
Just a couple pounds a day.
Yeah.
And they said, wow, I can get a lot more runs out of those, and they stay healthier.
We have to right now.
Well,
I mean, the border's basically closed. They're backed up a few 100,000 steers at the border. So the steers, that's where our practice cattle come from. Everybody's practice cattle come from the steers here that when they're done, they go to the practice pen,
yes,
trying to get as many runs out of them as possible. And when they're so expensive, 5, 10, 15 extra runs on a steer is it's more valuable today than it ever has been. Or else we're going to be roping yearlings here pretty quick,
Yeah.
So I think that is something very important.
Okay. There's two ways to approach this. They could be feeding the Total Bull or Total Equine, either one.
Either one?
Either one.
Okay.
At say, about 2, maybe 3 pounds a day to these size steers.
Okay.
And they would do great. Not only would it help with the hay intake.
Sure. Because we're sticking them all on a round baler out in a coastal field. I mean, that's where they're running.
Right. But they could also just use my mineral, and that alone will improve fiber digestion big time.
Help with what we were just talking about. Help with that absorption of the hay and the protein in that.
It just breaks it down better.
Sure.
And so they would be using less hay, and really the steers aren't going to really grow any faster. Mm-hmm. They don't want them to grow fast.
Yeah, we don't want them to get big. Like that's always the deal, right? We don't want them to get bigger. We just want them to stay healthier.
I know.
That's right. We're opposite feedlot people.
I know. It's not easy.
It's not.
But this would actually do it.
Okay.
You could use reasonably decent hay.
Yep.
Not the junkiest stuff you can find, but reasonable, and put them on the my mineral program, and they would muscle up just a little bit and become healthier.
Yeah.
They would run harder more times.
Yep.
And it would be so inexpensive. But I've tried to get some contractors to do that. They said, how much does it cost?
Yeah.
First question.
Yeah. There's back to the feedlot mentality.
Yeah.
Well, I here's one thing, and a lot of people that haven't, the guys that rope all the time know this, and the recreational team roper maybe not as much. So I was taught this years and years ago by great producers that run a bunch of steers and team ropers. Cattle are like our horses. We don't treat the cattle like athletes because we don't think about them that way, but they are. So what happens in let's say the lifetime of a steer is they're going to be fresh. We love roping them when they're fresh, and then we take them to team ropings, we get our runs out of them, then they turn into practice cattle. And practice cattle, what happens is they kind of peak and then they tank. We don't allow them to come back from that tank. You can bring them back. They may have a head trick or something, but you can bring them back by kind of keeping them in shape.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how else to put it, and I saw this firsthand when I lived at Alan Bach's place in the early 2000s, is our steers they would start to tank, and then they would start getting in shape because we were roping them so much. They would keep their head tricks, and you would have a dragger once in a while, but they would still run.
Yeah.
And it was because they were getting in shape.
Yeah.
And I'd imagine now that's what we're looking for, like I said, more now than ever. With steers being so expensive, that means if the steers are super expensive and I'm a recreational team roper and I'm going to lease steers from somebody, I need to get as many runs out of those because the lease is going up and they're harder to find.
Yeah.
So, and that guy leasing me steers he doesn't want them to be dead when he gets them back from me.
That's right.
So, I mean, I think that's super important, a huge deal.
Okay.
A huge deal. So,
Well,
I'd never thought about that until this conversation, but right
Yeah.
now it's important.
Oh yeah, and it's not that expensive.
Yeah.
The-
So do you have tubs then, like the mineral?
No.
I get.
It's a powder.
Oh, it is a powder. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess that's one thing I've never talked to you about.
I'm not high on the tubs.
Gotcha.
They're expensive and they're messy.
Sure.
But a good loose mineral,
Okay.
keep it in a weatherproof feeder,
Yep.
and you don't waste any.
Really.
And the amazing thing about my mineral is what I started this for a cow guy
Yeah.
here in Oklahoma.
Okay.
I was doing his feedlot work, and I was doing a great job with his little background in the yard and everything, and he wouldn't let me near his cows because I used too expensive stuff.
Yeah.
He's a farmer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And one day he called me. He said, "Could you help me with my cows?" I said, "Well, of course."
Yeah. Yeah.
He said, "I'm really having a fertility problem." He wasn't getting the cows bred and enough calves.
Yeah.
So I put together this formula. It's the same one today, and I did this many years ago. And he started using it, and he said, "Oh, God, it's expensive." I said, "Yeah, right. Well, it has to be."
So is having a huge percentage of open cows.
Yeah, I know.
Like what's more expensive?
Well, today the cost of that mineral has doubled because of ingredients.
Yeah.
Today you couldn't get him to stop that for nothing.
Absolutely.
Because he's getting last year he got 93.5% weaned calves of every cow that he started with the year before.
Yeah. Yeah. How about that?
Yeah, especially at current prices.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what right now that one or two calves that you don't have, that two
Yeah.
open cows,
Yeah,
is going to pay your feed bill. I mean, that's a lot with their price right now.
that's right.
You know.
And besides that, his cows stay in great body condition
Yeah.
year round, no matter what's going on out in the pasture.
Yeah.
And he always tells me how they're so much better than his neighbor's cows.
Yeah.
And then they say, "What are you doing with your
Yeah,
cows?"
right across the fence. Yeah.
He tells them, and they say, "Oh, really?" That's the response.
Yeah.
Because it
it's
costs
way
money.
too expensive.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
But no, like those cows, most minerals, and I was talking to somebody about this yesterday, they're using a mineral that does not have any of my chelates in it. It has the oldest form of minerals in it, and it has 25% salt in it. I put 5% in just so it has a slight flavor.
Yeah.
And but mine is like $75 a bag, which sounds awful.
Yeah.
It is awful, but his would probably eat on the average year round about 3 ounces or 4.
Mm-hmm.
The cows, after they get their fill done and get settled down, they'll eat about 1.5 ounces.
Really. Yeah.
And
So-
everybody tells me, even with the sheep mineral, they said the longer they use it, the lower it comes.
Because they don't need it.
That's right. And
Their body's getting what they need. It makes sense.
that's right.
It makes sense. Yeah. Well, Doc, I sure appreciate it. And that's an angle you and I have never talked about, is that steer angle. And I think it's really, really important right now. I mean, I know it is, because all of us
Yeah.
guys that talk about leasing cattle and roping at the house, that's the biggest concern, is how do we keep them longer?
Yes.
We've got to get more runs out of them.
Yeah.
When you go buy a steer at the sale barn and he's $800, he's
Yeah.
not even a fresh one.
Right.
You know, the days of the $200-300 steers are,
Well, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
well, I think
when
that's
they're
pretty.
when they're paying $3,500 for fat cattle.
Yeah. All day.
Yeah.
All day.
I know.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's pretty unbelievable. The market's crazy right now. It's
Yeah.
absolutely crazy. But,
I hope it holds, but
yeah.
bubbles like this usually cause real problems.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's pretty insane for
I'm
sure.
so old. I've seen many
So
cycles.
I bet you've seen that. You've seen a lot of those 7-year cycles,
Oh,
haven't you? Oh, shoot. Well, Doc, once again, thank you as always for coming up and seeing me.
You bet.
I really enjoy it. This is just two guys BSing on camera.
I
love
know.
it. I love it.
Oh, was somebody watching?
Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully they were. Well, Doc, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Appreciate it. Well, guys and gals, we are whittling our way down through the Huey Junior BFI. It is the 10.5, and we're going to keep bringing you more and more from our Equinity Sports Desk here. It has been Dr. Harry Anderson with Total Feeds, and once again, it was my pleasure, my friend.
Thank you.
And we will be back, everybody. Make sure you go to bfiweek.com. We've got a whole lot of cool stuff. It's a huge roping today, and we'll see all of you in a little bit.